Hey everyone. So this is my sort of 2 year update. I know it's a bit late. Um, I think I'm gonna make these videos more focused just around health updates rather than low vitamin A diet stuff. Because even though it's something I'm doing and I'll probably continue doing, I think it's important for me to just check in regularly and reflect on how everything's been going and update you guys. Because I think we can learn a lot from one another, and I do sometimes put this stuff off because I'm not always feeling that great, or my ego's been damaged by the medical system. You know, because as we'll go for everything, but there's been a lot of ups and downs, and there has been for the last like 10 years for me. So I'm I just come to expect that now. But it would be really nice. I'd really like to one day just film a video and say, oh yeah, everything's gone away. I'm completely better and I didn't have to take any drugs and I just changed my diet and everything's fine. But that's just not my journey, unfortunately. Even though I'm feeling pretty good right now, and I'm very grateful for that, there's been a lot of ups and downs over these 2 years and over these 10 years since I was diagnosed. So yeah, let's just get into it. I was hoping to have like some sort of conclusion about this low vitamin A thing, and that's another reason I kind of put off making this video. But at this stage, I just don't really know. I'm kind of muddling through. I'm kind of working things out as I go along. But I have changed some things, and I think sometimes it is just small tweaks that get you over the line and make you put you on that path to healing. So we'll get through that. I also wrote an article on my website, just like summarizing everything that's gone on for the last 2 years, what's gotten better, what's not gotten better, some results as well, which I'll go through. But yeah, let's just start off. Like, I made my last update in September, I think it was, of 2025. I just had a colonoscopy. I still had left-sided inflammation. I was on infliximab at the time. I was feeling okay, like pretty mild, not really many symptoms, just some bile dumping here and there. I noticed so they switched me from infliximab to a drug called Rinvoq because the infliximab they felt wasn't getting the intended result, which was mucosal healing. So they switched me to Rinvoq. Then I had another scope. I've had so many scopes, sigmoidoscopy this time. I had another scope in, I think it was February, and that was not great either. So now I'm on ustekinumab, which is Stellara's, the brand name that's pretty common. Hopefully, that seems like more of a safe drug long term, so we'll see how that goes. I hope that it, helps my colon to heal, but you can only hope. I think right now I have to take the medical route just because I've had this disease so long. I've got to use as many tools in my toolbox as I can. So that's where I'm at with UC. In terms of symptoms, like I did have some symptoms over like December, January during the summer period again. But they seem to have calmed down. Like right now I'm pretty asymptomatic. There's not much going on. I think that might have been part of some changes that I made. So like supplements wise, I lowered my zinc from 30 milligrams to 15. And I think straight away, I think I noticed a difference there. Because I think that can just push things too hard in terms of detox. It can make you dump copper, particularly with me. I definitely have copper toxicity. So lowering that actually really helped. I also recently I've been lowering charcoal. I think I have my concerns about taking so much charcoal like every day. I know it's kind of common in this low vitamin A world, but I think for me personally, it does definitely help in the short term. I've been looking into like motility and things like that, and I just don't think it's very helpful I think can lead to constipation. I know that they say to counteract that, take sun fiber. I think sun fiber is great. I take that every day. I tolerate it well, but I'm just not too comfortable taking high doses of charcoal. So I've come down from like a teaspoon to a quarter teaspoon gradually. A quarter teaspoon seems to work pretty well for me. I think I don't feel constipated. I feel like it's a small enough dose so if I'm causing harm, it's not significant. But yeah, I'm just very skeptical about these people taking like huge amounts of charcoal. Like, why is that even necessary? Especially if you're like 5 years into this or something, like to be taking that much charcoal, I don't think it's a good sign. I understand it's very powerful, it's very helpful, but yeah, I'm very skeptical. I'm very skeptical about the niacin as well, like taking huge amounts of niacin. I just don't understand. Maybe I'm not like, I don't go super deep into the research and stuff, but just as like a normal person looking in, it's kind of strange. It's kind of strange that you'd need to take that much niacin. So I can see the benefits of it. I've been doing like niacin enemas every now and then, which I'll occasionally get like the flush. But yeah, orally I just don't feel comfortable doing it yet. I think it did cause me problems a few years ago, so avoiding that at the moment. But the general trend like this year has been reduction. So just kind of stepping away from this because I'm 2 years in. My vitamin A levels are probably stable. I've gotten rid of the excess. And I think that was really just key, is getting below the RDA, not eating huge amounts of it, allowing your body to sort of get rid of the excess from the liver, and then it allows you to detox other things. That's the general idea I have about this approach. Like, I don't see why you'd need to do it for more than a couple of years, unless vitamin A is like the worst thing in the world, which I don't react to it. I don't notice any symptoms eating like high vitamin A foods. And I'm also younger. I seem to dump bile a lot, so I've probably gotten rid of a fair amount of the excess that I didn't need in my liver. Maybe we do need a small amount. I don't really know at this stage, but I think I'm leaning towards moderating things and balancing things out, because I think going on a low vitamin A diet for a long period of time, we just don't know. We don't know what we don't know. We don't know what we're going to be limiting by doing that, and we don't know what we might be getting too much of by doing that. So yeah, just trying to like round out the diet a little bit more as well. So supplements mainly coming down from, and diet opening it up a little bit, keeping the right amount of soluble fiber in, which has been very, very important for me. Introducing new things like sourdough bread, lowering red meat a little bit, because I think eating red meat every day, long term, it doesn't seem right. I don't think I do as good I don't think I do as good on lots of red meat than I do on like poultry or fish and eggs. Even like introducing more eggs, I think there's a lot of fear mongering about eggs. A lot of people on the other side say that the choline's really, really important. I've kind of just been dabbling into it, like having more eggs in my diet over the last few months, and I think it is helping. I don't see it necessary to be extremely low on vitamin A right now. So that's kind of where my diet's leaning. So outside of diet, mainly just been watching those agitators, like watching the sunlight exposure, stress, space weather, like observing space weather, because that seems to be a common trigger. So all those things, if I get too much of them, or if I do too much soluble fiber, definitely run into problems. So just trying to keep tabs on them, getting the right amount of sun and fiber and things is really important. because I'm still very sensitive to too much sun. Like I will have body aches, gut issues if I get too much sun. So I find the winter to be a lot more easy for that because I live in Queensland. It's really hot. The sun is extreme. So winter, I've noticed like it's a pattern throughout. Honestly, it's a pattern throughout my entire experience because I track my symptoms on my phone on this app, and I can literally go through every year and see my symptoms tend to worsen around spring. So it's very interesting. I just feel like winter slows things down. Motility definitely slows in the winter, which is not beneficial, but in terms of like bile production, maybe that reduces. I don't know. Oh, okay. So in terms of motility, something I've been trying recently is ginger is like a prokinetic for SIBO. So SIBO is something that I probably need to get back into. I had a SIBO test done maybe 4 years ago. It showed methane dominance, which tends to cause slower motility and constipation. And I think something I came across is that you can have slow motility and still have diarrhea and loose bowels. You can have slow motility in your small intestine, and that yet still have diarrhea because it's kind of unrelated in a sense. Well, they are related, but they're not. You can have both. So I think for me, I tended towards slow motility, like this mix between sort of constipation and loose bowels. Like it would be a weird combination because you have SIBO going on, but then your large intestine is just like flushing everything out. So I think that's something I want to look more into. So I've been doing ginger as like a prokinetic. So a prokinetic is something that activates what's it called, the MMC, the migratory motor complex, which is the thing that sweeps out all the bacteria from the small intestine, generally during fasting periods. So I'm trying to do my ginger tea like just before bed. That really helps. So I think that helps with nausea too. Nausea is one of my big symptoms at the moment. So I highly recommend, if you're dealing with gut issues, looking into SIBO and prokinetics. Now, some other important news is I had my hair mineral analysis done. I did one last year and I saw my copper went down significantly, but I also had a lot of fluctuations going on. Now I had one done and it is really stabilized. It looks much better. Like everything is fairly close to normal. Copper is almost in the normal range. Zinc is pushing up. So that ratio is starting to normalize. That gave me a lot of confidence that I'm somewhat on the right path because it can seem, I don't really get my vitamin A level measured because there's not really a good test for that. I'm not going to go and convince my doctor to run a blood vitamin A. I mean, I could, but there's not much benefit in that. I don't see much benefit. So the hair test is great because I knew copper toxicity was a key issue and looks like that's been addressed. So hopefully that means long-term stability. I definitely feel it from like the mental, emotional lens. Like I don't feel as much anxiety, which is really interesting. So it's nice to have like some definitive evidence that I'm on the right path. But again, we just got to kind of reiterate. And like, for example, the selenium was quite high. I actually came off selenium, and I think that also, along with reducing the zinc, I think coming off selenium actually helped. So I'm really stepping back at the moment because I think just the first year doing this, like going on all these supplements and taking lots of charcoal and increasing my soluble fiber and all these things, I think they just stacked up and they did not help with what happened over that summer period where I ended up in hospital. I think that if you're undertaking this, you should go very slow. You should really be careful about what you introduce and also what you pull away, because I went on a very low vitamin A diet, and I don't know if that was just too extreme. There's a lot of extreme people in the alternative health world, and it's really good to step away from it. That's another thing I've been doing. Like lifestyle thing is just disengaging from all this craziness, because it's really helpful. Don't get me wrong. There's some really smart people out there, but it gets a bit schizo. It gets a bit crazy, and you can become paranoid. You can become orthorexia is definitely a common thing. You can become just worried about everything. I just don't really feel like worrying right now. Like I'll take the steps I can, but you gotta decide. You gotta try and prioritize what's important. And so I think for me right now, probably leaning towards let's go get a SIBO test done and see how that's going, and try to get my motility right. Because again, with the motility thing, if I'm taking lots of charcoal and it's slowing things down, I mean, from a bile perspective, yeah, it might be binding the bile, but if it's like resulting, I can't imagine what happens in my colon when I'm taking charcoal. But you imagine if you take too much, you're not drinking enough water, it's just like drying everything up, and things aren't moving through your colon. And so you'd imagine that that's more contact time for this so-called toxic bile. That's one of the things that concerns me. It's just a theory. I talked to actually something really helpful now. I know AI is a big concern, but it is very helpful to just question these things with Claude or whatever, because that's what I did with charcoal, and it did make some good points, to be honest with you. So, I mean, we've all got to use our own sort of critical thinking, and there is that risk of just going too extreme because you don't trust anything, and I understand that, but try to find balance is all I'll say. I'm also just not. I'm trying not to worry about the whole situation. I'm trying not to worry about my colon too much, my UC, because it is a marathon. I feel pretty decent. I'll have occasional symptoms with bile dumping, but I think the steps I've made this year are seeming to help. So we'll just have to see how it goes. I want to see how this medication goes. I'm also traveling. I'll be in the UK for a month in August, so I'm grateful that I feel well enough to go and do that, and I hope it goes well. So I've kind of been keeping things stable for the last few months just to make sure that goes smoothly. I think it'd be good for me to just have a break and get away from my usual stuff. Okay, I think that's pretty much everything. So overall, like it's this whole thing's a journey. It's been a journey since it all started. Not this vitamin A diet, but this entire like health journey has been a mix of ups and downs, and I think it is for everyone. I must be a particularly hard case to solve, but you can only keep moving forward, and I'm just grateful that I do feel good. There is the impending doom of what happens with my UC, but I don't think it's gonna. I think I'm feeling a lot more optimistic than I was maybe 3 or 4 years ago. So, and I'm really grateful I came across this vitamin A stuff, because I think if I'd kept doing what I was doing on these really high vitamin A diets, I think I would have ran into significant problems. Who knows? Maybe I wouldn't have. Maybe I'm completely wrong with this stuff, but I don't think I am. I mean, there's definitely something to this, and even if I am wrong, I'm still eating a little bit. So if I'm completely wrong, I've kind of hedged my bets a little bit so that I'm not completely depleted of vitamin A. I will try doing some high vitamin A weeks or days in the future and just see how it affects me. I think that would be a good thing to do. Like I said, I don't react to it. So yeah, I think going forward, SIBO test probably. I'll repeat the hair mineral analysis next year. Labs, so I run a stool test. My gastro runs a stool test. Calprotectin does the inflammation levels. So that was actually really high in the beginning of the year. I think it was in the few thousands, like 2,000 something, and now it's about 700. So we want to below 50. Hopefully the next one is in that range. But yeah, Alright, guys. Well, I'll try and do these videos more often. I think it's important for me to just, even if I'm unprepared, just talk, like, go for everything, because otherwise it just piles up and then I forget what's even happened 6 months ago, right? So, alright, well, see ya.